All right, hey everybody, back for the next installment of some ISBoxer hotkey, spam bar setup guide, tips and tricks, tutorial, whatever you want to call these here. Today, going to take a look at the bard. A little bit overdue here, since just about every single ISBoxer crew out there has got a bard in there, except for maybe those progression server rolling 6 magicians. Way OP at those lower level box crews. But I also haven't been like too much of a rush here because they're really simple. I think everybody's got this figured out. So it's probably just a bit better off as just brand new, trying to start a bard out in your box crew and what to use. Most of like the adjustment and strategy and what's going on with a bard is going to be in your song rotation. And unfortunately, apologies, we're not going to sit there and spend an hour on like what's good and what's not and all that theory. Because there's 1,000 different forum pages and posts and guides out there already on that, and you're likely just going to want to figure that out on your own, what's good for your crew. For me, my minus key is what I click to get my melody going. So I've got 4 different melodies set up there that I rotate in and out, and I've got a couple of other different ones going on here just for different situations that I could pop in there as need be. So that's something that's going to be, there's a lot of different things there. So play around with that, take a look at some guides, change things up, what you want to get done there yourself. So we won't go over that. What we'll do is we'll get into our hot buttons, and then we'll talk a little bit of some nuances and some adjustments and changes, some things that can potentially make a bard a little bit easier to box, kind of a thing. So into the main spam bar. So my hot bar here that I've got lined up to the number 2 button, the number 2 being what I spam nonstop through a fight. So first up is kick, which is auto skill, but just because there's not a lot to put in there, I don't have that. I don't have that. I keep that in there just to kind of maybe fill out some space there, and similar to a ranger, their kick actually does a good amount of damage, just based on some AA improvements and things like that. Does a pretty consistent amount of damage, but it could flurry for like 4 hits, kind of a thing there. So I always just have that in there just because it's got room for it. Cacophony is a 3-minute recast dot. So good, easy one to keep in any sort of spam bar for a bard, just to keep popping that off. It lasts for about a minute. Every tick, 50,000 base damage, 3-minute recast there. So that stays up for a good, third of the time there for sure. Reflexive is the latest Outer Brood skill that we've got. Long recast, 10 minutes for 4 decent hits of damage there. So, kind of some decent amount of damage there. But the big thing there and why it's got a recast and why I spam that off whenever it's available is it gives a good chunk of mana back to your group. So a skill, like a lot of these, if you're manually controlling a bard, maybe a bit better off just to kind of manually click that when you see that she could use some mana so that it's not going off at like the start of a fight when everybody's got full mana, kind of a thing. But for the sake of grinding and boxing, I just pop that off whenever it refreshes itself. Song of Stone is the one that summons the gargoyle minions. So just, good, easy, free, extra DPS as well as helping magicians whenever possible. So just keep that refreshed up there. Flurry of Notes is one that you may want in like a burn rotation. This is the one that for 18 seconds will cause your weapons to proc every single proc on every single hit. So I think there is a focus that makes it last longer than 18 seconds, or maybe not, unfortunately. But anyways, this is something, again, like some of the other ones, you may want in a regular burn type rotation and not spamming that off. But I've got that in there, and I'll pull that off and add it to burns, like if I'm doing like Final Fugue or the Captain, where I want to make sure that that's not on cooldown and ready to pop off, because I'll switch out to some stun weapons and then just, click that and just kind of help with some extra stunning kind of thing. Bladed Song is a reversed damage shield. So we'll pop that on there. Just real simple, straightforward. Just does damage anytime the target starts attacking. So good to keep that popped off there. So what was that? A 4-minute recast here, lasts for a minute. So stays up pretty decent there. The Lyrical Prankster here, there's another kind of like Song of Stone swarm summon ability here. This is the one if you ever see a bard with a whole bunch of little mini bards attacking the mob, that's the one there. One thing to note about this though, each of these little individual things here, they will come into play like mimicking your like aggro. So this is another one that like I'll pull on and off depending on the situation. So if you're playing against mobs like Heroes are Forged, like the queen there that goes inactive, this can get a little bit troublesome in there, so I'll pull it off for that and other things that go inactive, because you'll see here is kind of leave them up. They're going to stay up for quite a while there. So what this will do is like when the queen goes active, like for that entire duration, these guys will last, like that full time there. And they'll cause the queen to just like insta-summon me up there, insta-summon your bard up there, because they'll put you right to that top of the aggro list as she goes active and has like completely reset aggro. So just kind of know that this does a little bit something extra to it. In most grinding situations, you're not going to be in a situation where your bard will have the potential to be at the top of kind of aggro. So just kind of pay attention to that. Spire there is that little bit of a burn one. So again, another thing where you may want to just manually click that as a main bard, not something you want to spam off, but something I put in there just to longer duration, keep that DPS up there with that just overall general buff to a little bit of everything that the Spire does for all classes. And then finally at the end there, the Outer Brood Bane ability there is self-explanatory. So yeah, that's kind of what I got that I spam off there. My number 3 key, which is my start of fight. I've got a bar up at the top here that I just kind of keep in like reserve up there. That every so often I'll pop that down there. But for right now, the only thing that I've got that I'm using is the boastful bellow. So this is the one that does a little bit of a small, like was up front. It'll hit for like 43,000 damage. I could crit for like 100 to 200,000. But if it's on for its full duration of 18 seconds and let it wear off, it'll trigger the Boastful Conclusion, which is 370,000 base damage. What you'll see here, it crits pretty often. Of course, now it didn't want to crit. It just did its 370,000. But it'll crit most of the time, and it'll do like up to like 2 million damage. So I got that there so that you can put this in a spam bar, but the issue there is its recast is faster than the duration of that spell there, the duration that will cause it to trigger conclusion. So you won't ever get to this nice big, 2 million crit from the boastful conclusion. If you're just spamming it, like it'll just continuously like reset this countdown here to the like 20, 18 seconds, whatever it is. So we'll just recast that here one more time and reset it before it went off. So just not good to put that in a spam bar. So that's something that it's on my same button that I click at the start of the fight, and then just to reapply some stuff every so often throughout the fight there. And the nice thing about this is it's a bit of a unique icon that's always flashing. So on your main tank, when you click it, you'll be able to easily tell. It stands out pretty quickly. Like, oh, cool, it dropped off. Let me click my 3 again to reapply it and refresh it. So I've also got down here just with like kind of my little AE spot here, my numpad 9, the Van Glorious Shout, which is the same thing but does it to all the targets that do an AE cone in front of you. So I'll swap that in and out just depending on the situation, making sure that I don't got that in a situation where I don't want to do AE damage and potentially break mezzes or trigger, raid mechanics that you don't want to trigger, kind of a thing. Other thing that you can potentially have in the number 3 spot is stuff like item clickies. So I've got bards have like a massive collection of instruments and things like that do clicks. Most of them have cast times, which makes them a little bit obnoxious and just not like the juice isn't worth the squeeze for bards to click over, cast them, restart your melody, click back over, kind of a thing. They're having to dedicate tons and tons of unique buttons to them. So if you've got a high level bard, I definitely suggest going after some of the higher level click stuff like this. What is this? The minstrel's rapier here, which is an instant cast slow. So as long as let me get a melody going. As long as it's instant cast, like I'll click this, it won't break your melody. So the instant cast stuff will be really, really nice. So you don't have to then restart up your melody there. So I will, like every so often, I'll have that in the number 3 bar along with Boastful Bellow. So I'll have 2 things, so I'll need some extra stuff dedicated to it. But lately I've got a Beast Lord there, so that slow has been fine. And realistically, this energy sap, like it's always going to be a partial hit. It doesn't do a lot of slow. It's not going to make like a massive big difference with mobs. So it's just one of the situations, like if I just happen to be playing in a situation where I don't have that or don't need that, I don't have a slow from another character, then cool. I'll drop that into the number 3 bar there, so I've got something extra there just to get a little bit of a slow going on. With that, though, what I then am going to talk about is clickies within your spam bar. So the normal situation, if you're not familiar, if you haven't watched other videos there, item clickies and spam bars have a little bit of a weird like nuance to them. Let me my melody stop in here. If I were to, any sort of like item clicky that has a delay, like if I were to put that like in the very front there, let me drop that there, and I were to start trying to spam off stuff, on its very first click, it's going to click a couple of things, but essentially anything after an item that's on a delay will never be triggered. So even if I'm like trying to spam there, I'm spamming my number 2 button and like nothing is going off there because this is on a delay. So if anything that's on a delay, it basically just stops anything else from going on. So whatever the coding is, like it just looks at that and it sees item on a delay. Cool, I'm going to stop looking after that. The other thing that the items do that's different for a bard, why you can't even like include it at like the end of a hotbar there is, let me get a melody back up and running. Get some stuff going there. Item clickies every so often. Hopefully it'll happen pretty quick here. But item clickies in a rotation will just sometimes stop your melody from going. So yeah, there we go. Like it's stopped. There's some sort of weird timing in there, like based on where it's at in its delay and like the global cooldown kind of a thing, and the global ticking. It will cause it when it looks and sees an item on a delay, it causes your songs just to stop. Long story short, after that 2 minutes of talking, just never include an item in a spam bar for a bard. Just not a good idea. One decent workaround, so if you do have an epic, which hopefully everybody spends the time to get one, the Bard Epic is one of the most powerful ones there for added DPS, for nice group buff that's on a really fast recast. So I got all my melodies here, all the different situations here. But in every single one of these here, I've got at the top, it starts with a couple of lines in the social macro that will refresh the Bard Epic. So always make sure that you got a stop song there, because the Bard Epic is unfortunately not instant. So clicking it will stop your songs there, so it'll go through its little 1 or 2 second cast time. So if you're casting, if you've got a melody going and you click an item with any sort of cast time, I'm sure you're probably well aware. We'll quickly find out. It's got the ability to kind of just like bug and lock out your songs. And to help avoid that, whenever I click this, what it's going to first do is going to stop my singing, so that there isn't a chance for that to bug. It's going to click my Bard Epic to refresh that. A little bit of a pause so that it has time to go through that cast time, and then it gets into the melody. So you can go ahead and add this into any sort of melody, and what this will allow you to do is refresh your epic without having to click multiple things. So otherwise you would have to have a key dedicated to solely the Bard Epic, or put it into like your start a fight kind of clicks and things like that. But even that's annoying, because you'll still then have to click that to get a melody going, to get your epic going, and then have to click your melody button. So this is just easy. Just every couple minutes I just click this and it refreshes the epic. So just a nice little tip there that I just came across trying some things out. So with that, that's basically it that we're going to cover. I don't have any hotkeys set up for charms, mezzes, and things like that. Just in these last two expansions, they're just, unfortunately, really easy. And only if I'm pulling like over 10 mobs is it troublesome to a main tank. I just pulled it off. I just cleared those buttons up. The better buttons to hit when those situations come in is to just burn and click some, defensive abilities on your tank. But I do have a number pad over here. So like 1, 2, 3, 4 is dedicated to dots. So I wouldn't put anything in there for a bard because that's just in the melody. But 5, 6, 7, and 8 are open abilities. So just depending on the situation, I can easily put in a charm or a mez into there and just know, all right, cool. When it's time to do that, I just hit my num 6 or whatever happens to be. But yeah, again, bard mezzing is just kind of useless in a boxing as long as you've got a decently geared tank, because you don't need to mez stuff. They can tank through any amount of trash, and the only time it gets bad where you need mez is just going to be more than likely just going to be a wipe situation anyways. But yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll cut it off there, and we will see you in the next one.